What's up everyone, Kate here from MP Tennis. Hope you guys are doing great today. Today I have my favorite rackets of the year that I have demoed. So if you want to see what they are, stick around. But before we jump into the video, do not forget to like and subscribe. We have lots of videos on the channel. As you know, I'm a college tennis player. I document all of that. We're also on a journey to get 130 miles an hour serve. So be sure to check those videos as well, but please like and subscribe, it really helps us. So, like I said, I am doing a compilation video here of my favorite rackets that I have demoed in 2023. So, as you guys know, I've demoed so many rackets. I mean, not so many, but definitely enough that I have a good idea of the rackets that are, out right now during the year across all brands. And I have picked 5, excluding my personal racket, which is the Head Radical Pro, which is customized. So I've picked 5 that I want to share with you guys that I think you might like as well. So these are my personal favorites. They work for me, but I definitely think they will work for some other people as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Legendary racket, and that racket is the Head Prestige Pro Auxetic Edition. So I'm very excited to talk about this one with you guys today. But to the racket review, I was so excited to get my hands on this racket. I've never hit with a Prestige. I've hit with a lot of Head rackets and a lot of other brands, across the board through the last, 5-ish years when demoing rackets and stuff, but I never was able to get my hands on a Prestige. So I was very pumped, I must say. So just looking at this racket, this paint job, initially when I looked at it like in photos and stuff, I was kind of like, I don't know, it seems a little dull. I thought it looked dull, the paint job. However, having it in hand, this is like amazing. It feels so nice in the hands. I love looking at this racket. So it kind of went from like dull to like stealth, if you know what I mean. This racket looks so stealthy. That's kind of my word for it. And it plays stealthy too. So we'll get into what I mean by that. But it's nice. I mean, it feels good in the hands. I love on Prestiges how they have the grommet that goes all the way around. I think that's a cool touch. I know it's a pain to put in because I've heard it's a pain to put in, but that's another story. But yes, racket cosmetic looks good. It looks so good with grip too. I mean, come on, it looks so nice. I strung this up with Head Hawk Power 17 gauge 54-52, my tension, to get a good feel. So what did I think? If we start from the back on forehands, I thought it was solid. I mean, I knew what to expect going into this review because I knew it was going to play different compared to my racket. I play with a Extreme Tour, heavily customized, so I didn't put any weight on this, so I knew it was not going to feel like my racket. So, of course, I knew it was going to feel very control-oriented, and surprisingly, it actually did feel pretty heavy, which was nice. But to the forehand and to the point, I felt like it was solid. On pickups, it was very nice, swung nice through the air. However, for me, since I'm coming from more of a spin racket, it felt like I really needed to use my body, which is no surprise from, Prestige lines. These rackets are not going to give you much. So if you're somebody out there that is looking at a Prestige and you're like a beginner, this is not your racket at all. I know some people are going to say like, oh, learn to hit with a Prestige, it'll teach you everything. I disagree with that. I think it will make you hate tennis actually. So find a racket that maybe has a little bit more power. But even for me, I felt like it was difficult at times to generate the power and the spin just because I'm not used to it. But don't get me wrong, when I hit it well, it felt so good. I just found myself dumping it in the net from time to time because, it doesn't have that much power. So the launch angle was also a little bit low. It sounds like I'm really picking it apart right now, but it's not a bad racket at all. It's just that that's something that I'm used to getting kind of for free with my Extreme Tour, but I was not with this. But overall, like flattening it out, This racket's a beauty on the run. If you can get it in the middle of the strings, it's a beauty. And if you use your body well, if you use your body very well, then you're not going to have a problem, but you need to have some good technique and you need to be able to use your body, all of it, to get everything out of this racket, and then it will be amazing. But for me, on the forehand a little bit, I kind of struggled with getting the height over the net that I'm used to, and the power I was lacking a little bit. However, it was not terrible. It was still fun to hit on my forehand for sure. If we move to backhand, same kind of thing. I actually thought it was easier to generate height and spin with my backhand, which is actually weird because normally with people that have two-handed backhands, it's normally they play flatter on the backhand side, which I do. And I felt it funny that I was actually able to get more height and depth and spin and maybe even power on the backhand side. But solid on the backhand, not too many knocks. I just felt like it's hard to get the sweet spot sometimes on that side as well. Just, you can kind of feel the off-center hit, so you need to be able to label it every time in the middle of the strings. And that's why this racket is kind of for more of the advanced plus player. So if you're like a college player or pro player, even like, or somebody that plays with like continental grip and like wants to go out and feel like Andy Murray and guys that use like pro stock Prestiges and stuff. But yeah, I mean, backhand, solid, not too many knocks. If we go to the slice though, okay, now this racket is like God tier. The slice on this racket, guys, is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I just wanted to hit slices all day. I remember when I hit the first slice with this racket, I was like gushing over it. Like I couldn't believe how much feel was in the racket. And I mean, that's what these rackets are for. They're feel and control. So it's no surprise, but slices anywhere, low slices, like chip slices, when they were like shoulder width, or not shoulder width, up by your shoulder or like weight height, they all felt good. And I didn't have a problem with depth. They were going where I wanted. Slices with this racket are a beauty, 100%. At net, didn't surprise me at all. This racket is amazing, nice on volleys. The only mini thing that I would just have to maybe get used to up at net was I felt that my volleys might have been landing a tiny bit shorter than they were with my Extreme Tour, and that's just because, once again, this frame doesn't offer as much power and as much give as maybe some other rackets, so I would have to get used to that. But this was going exactly where I was wanting to go. On touch volleys and like drop volleys, so good. Touch shots with this racket like are so good. Overheads, fine. Just the same thing, not as much power as you might get out of another racket. So if I'm gonna smack an overhead with this versus smacking it with a pure arrow, the pure arrow is just gonna be harder. And sometimes that's nice to have that little extra foot away power. However, you're getting so much control out of this and you know where it's gonna go every time. So I can't really knock it on that. Yeah, overheads are solid. If we back up to start, serving and returning, if we start with serving, yeah, I mean, it's solid, man. I mean, it's going where you want it to go. I think the story of this racket is just, it's going where you want it to go, but not with a ton of power compared to other rackets. I was able to hit all the spins, kicks, flats, slights, serves, and have no issues, really. At times it felt a tiny bit heavy going overhead, but I think it was just because I'm not used to it. So, I mean, yeah, serving, no issues whatsoever. Other than that, felt a little heavy going overhead once in a while. But yeah, I was able to do everything I wanted with my serve. There was no limitations. And then my other favorite part about this racket was returning. And normally I dock rackets on the return, but this one was so solid on return. Like backhand, like bunt returns, like, oh, wow. It was so solid. It felt like a laser coming off the racket. I felt like Djokovic out there, like it was ridiculous. And that goes for forehands and backhands. it was just amazing. Like, I don't even need to explain it. It just felt so good. You could feel the racket, like when it hit the strings, you could feel it like go into your hands, and like it was, I don't even know what to say. It just felt so good. I don't know how to explain it. It's one of the best. No, it's not. It's probably the best racket I've ever play tested on returns. However, I do really love my racket on return, but this one had a good feeling. So serve and return were big pluses for me. So will I switch to this racket? No. The only thing that's missing for me is there needs to be a little bit more spin potential out of this racket, and on my forehand I struggled a bit to get the extra zip on the ball, and also the height and the depth like I kind of talked about earlier. And that comes from the launch angle of the racket, I think. But if I was somebody that played a little bit flatter through the court, I would probably switch to this racket. And if you're able to handle this kind of racket, you got good technique, you're strong. That's another thing that's important about these frames. You need to be strong to use these because they're not easy to play around with. That's why I don't suggest juniors playing with these rackets. But yeah, if you can handle it, you got good technique, and you play with a flatter ball, and you want some control, this is going to be your racket. And I think you'll love it, and you can kind of customize it a bit if you'd like. And it looks friggin' sexy. I mean, look at this. Look at that. So nice. Anyway, that is going to be it for today's review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely a fun play test. So go get out there and try Prestige. About a racket, and that is the Head Gravity MP. So let's jump into it. The Head Gravity. This is honestly probably the nicest racket I've ever looked at in my life as far as cosmetics go. This is a beauty of a racket, let me tell you that. If I was like top 10 pro and I was getting pro stocks made, I'd want this paint job on all my rackets, let's just say that. But honestly, was really looking forward to this play test. For starters, this racket comes in at like $295, the MP version. Note that a while ago, I tested the Gravity Pro, the old version. So if you want to check that out, definitely do. But this is the MP, so it comes in pretty light, $295 stock form. So I knew that I was going to need to add some weight. I put a pretty good chunk of weight, I don't know if you guys can see, at 3 and 9, and also countered it in the grip. So I was able to bring it up to, with string and the weight, to my spec 338. And I was able to get on a court and test it. So the string that's in here is my string, Selinko Confidential. Got the Wilson overgrip, all that stuff is what I like. So got on court with it. What did I think of it? At first, I actually did test it with a hybrid string, just kind of rallying down the middle with my dad. And I really liked it. I was like, dang, like this is gonna feel good. It's in my wheelhouse. I think I'm gonna like this. And it made me think of another racket I've play tested and really liked, but couldn't switch to because of elbow pain, and that is the Wilson Shift. That racket also has a 16x20 string pattern, which was interesting. So anyway, got on court, put my string in it. If we go and start from the back, on forehands, when you connect well with this racket, especially if you're a more advanced player and add some weight to it, you can label it. It's really good. You can put some good spin on it. I could kind of do whatever I wanted. It really penetrates the court actually when you really rip it. So there's that. I really did enjoy it on my forehand. I didn't really feel like the racket was, you know, too heavy or too light or unstable or anything like that. It was pretty solid on my forehand. I would probably give it an A+. On the backhand side though is when I kind of started to notice a couple issues, and I was ticked off because this is a 100 square inch racket, and I felt like I really had to hit the sweet spot though, which is strange because the way this head shape is it's like, it kind of reminds me of a Yonex frame because I feel like it's like wider this way. So I don't know what this head shape is very unique, but I felt like I wasn't connecting in the middle of the strings, or it didn't feel like I was, as well as like other rackets or my personal racket. So I felt like the ball was flying sometimes and I didn't have the control over it that I wanted to, especially when I was hitting, you know, some flatter shots or some backhands where I had to prep early or really early and kind of take it on the rise, or some pickup backhands. Guys, in order for me to switch to a racket, it all needs to be good. So I'm getting pretty nitpicky here. Overall, in the backhand, it was good, but I just feel like it wasn't good enough to make me switch. But I mean, overall, I'd give it honestly a B+, A-, probably a B+ though, just because I felt like it felt good on some shots, and then on some shots it really didn't feel good at all, and I didn't have that feeling of connected to the racket. So that's backhand. If we're talking about the slice, that's another area where I really struggled with this racket. I felt like I was getting some nice spin and it was going over the net with some nice, like not high over the net, like perfect, what do you call it? Perfect, like it was in the perfect window, like we say window 1 for slice and stuff, and it was going right where I wanted to, but it was landing short. So I felt like I had to like really work to get my slice deep, which is not normally an issue with me. And I felt like it was kind of just awkward. Once again, I don't know if it's that head shape that this racket has that was causing me those issues, but just a little bit of a struggle there. I really didn't like the slice on this racket. Actually, probably would give it a B-, a C+. So that's an area that I really struggled with. But that's the backhand, you know, kind of wrapping up over there. Approaching to the net, pretty solid. Volleys are a beauty with this racket. If you guys watched my Gravity Pro review in the fall, last fall, I loved it on volleys. This racket's kind of a beast at volleys. I feel like I can't miss, and I think that is a good thing about this head size. It's pretty stable up at the net. It's a bigger head size. Had some nice touch with it as well. So really no issues at all. Probably give it an A+. Overheads, totally fine, no issues. Like I say in all my racket reviews, I think if you know how to hit an overhead, I don't think you can really mess up. But yeah, A+ on the overhead, we'll say. Now, I want to talk about something before I get into serve and return. When it comes to the maneuverability of this racket, it's unique. It's a little bit different, especially where this comes in at a lighter stock weight. I feel like it could still cause problems for people on the maneuverability side because of the way this head shape is. I'm talking a lot about the head shape, but I think you kind of need to, because it's just an awkward feeling sometimes when it swings through the air. It's not a traditional shape. So I felt like at times, and maybe that's why I did have some problems on my backhand picking up little half volleys or pickups from the baseline, because it was tough to maneuver from the forehand to the backhand. But that's just something I wanted to mention as well. So didn't really love the maneuverability of this racket, and that's a big con that I had with the Gravity Pro in the fall. Probably even more than this one because it was the Pro model, and when I even made contact with the ball, it's an 1820 string pattern. Didn't feel like I was getting much on the ball, etc. But that's the Gravity Pro. Go watch that video if you would like to. But going back, you know, hitting some serves and returns. Serve was average. It was just okay. Once again, I kind of felt the maneuverability coming into play in a bad way when it was coming overhead. I felt like I wasn't able to be as crafty on the serve, you know, hit a slower kick serve but with a lot of spin, or go really slice wide. I didn't really feel like I had that This racket didn't really have that in its, I don't know what the word is, in its toolbox. Like I felt like this racket was not able to do what I'm able to do with some rackets on the serve, being creative with spin, power, angle, etc. Not to say that it was bad. It was solid on the flat serve. I could crank out some big ones there, but I still think it was not as strong as I was hoping it to be. So serve, I would give it a B+. Returns were also pretty average. When you connect with it, it felt pretty good. Similar to the Gravity Pro, I really liked it on returns. I think if you time it well, especially with this head shape, I feel like this head shape and size and the way it is, it has some pros and cons. It's really good for some things, but not good at all for some things. So when I made contact, hitting, blocking topspin return, it was solid, but didn't really love it on, some chip returns and stuff. Didn't feel great there. The overall feeling of the racket was, pretty average. It has that head feel, which I like, but in some departments, I didn't really love it, on the backhand and stuff and slicing. So, but to back it up, to get to returns, I would also give returns probably a B+. So I guess that's going to kind of wrap it up. Really solid frame. I think if you are somebody that, played with the Speed Pro, that maybe wants to try Gravity, you're an advanced player, you want to customize a racket, this is a racket that it's a pretty good platform racket that you can customize. Maybe you're somebody that uses a Yonex racket as well. If you're somebody that uses a Yonex racket, I don't think this head shape would bother you as much because, Yonex frames have the isometric head. Also, if you're coming from a pure arrow, pure drive, somebody that's in that 100 square inch kind of bracket, I don't think this will bother you as much. When you're somebody that's coming from a smaller head size up, you will notice it. So, 95, 97, 98 square inch rackets, you're going to notice it a bit, and that's why I think I did as well. Enjoyed this play test, but not what I was so hyped up actually because this paint job, this is a racket if I was a kid, I'd switch to this racket because of the paint job, just because I like it so much. But at the stage of my career, I can't do that. So that's the Head Gravity MP. We got another racket review for you guys today. Super excited to unpack this one with you. Another highly requested racket. So what is that racket? The Yonex Vcore 95 2023. And just let me say this, there's a lot to talk about here. I did demo the Vcore 98 just a little bit ago, which was the previous edition, and a lot of people gave me some crap because it wasn't the new one, but the new one didn't even come out yet. But I'm here to tell you guys about the 95 today, and this is a very, very interesting play test. So stick around to see what I think about it. Today we're talking about the Vcore 95. Wow, this is a racket I've wanted to demo for a very, very long time, and I stayed away from it early on in the MP tennis days because I didn't think it was worth it, because I didn't think I was going to be able to handle it. But I was wrong. I was very wrong. This Vcore 95, don't be afraid of the 95 square inch, folks. This racket does not play like a 95 square inch. In fact, it plays more like a 97 or a 98, the way it comes off the racket at least. But yeah, this is very excited. So this is very excited. I can't even speak English right now because I am so excited to tell you about this racket. Anyway, I am very excited. So if we go to the back, starting with the forehands, or even before we start talking about forehands, what do we think about this? This looks really nice. Like, I like how it feels in your hand. They got a nice cosmetic going. Don't even get me going about the previous Vcore. After I demoed the old one, the 98, that cosmetic, that sucks. Come on, that one looks terrible. This is a great upgrade. Well done, Yonex. Looks really nice with black strings and the white grip. So yeah, well done. Feels also pretty good in the hand. Since I've never used this racket before, it feels very long. Like, maybe some people that use this racket or have play tested it can kind of know what I'm saying here, because like the throat right here seems very long. Like, it kind of feels awkward. So that was a little bit of something I had to get used to. But anyway, I was able to get used to it. If we go to the back, start hitting some ground strokes, my initial impressions were like, what the heck? Like, what is this thing? Like, this is kind of a hidden gem. And I hit like 4 or 5 balls with it, and I was just smacking it like flat lasers. For flat shots, this racket, wow, like really, really impressed. But anyway, we'll kind of talk about that later. On the forehand, I was shocked. I mean, it was nothing incredible, but it was definitely something to remember. Like, for a 95 square inch racket, I was able to hit some good topspin with this and also flatten it out for a joke. So if you're somebody that's kind of playing in the area of like, I don't know, Extreme Tour Pro Staff-ish, something like that, and you want to try a Yonex racket, you want to go 95 square inch, I mean, this racket is where it's at. Like, I was able to hit some good topspin for a 95 square inch. And I know people are going to comment, Kate, like, that's what the Vcore is, that's what the Vcore 95 is. But like, it's hard to talk about because I've never played with it before. So I know what you guys mean now. For all the people that talk about this racket online, it's very unique and solid. So yeah, forehand was a unique experience. I didn't have the issue. Somebody was roasting me in the comments the other day, I believe, about shanking. Shanking the Yonex frames that I did. Like, I was shanking a lot with the E-Zone in the Vcore 98 old versions. I didn't shank at all with this, so that throws that theory out the window. I mean, obviously I was shanking if I hit the frame, but like, it wasn't like with the other Yonex rackets I've used, I felt like it was like hitting the middle of the strings and I was shanking, where this, I didn't feel like that. So anyway, yeah, on the forehand was great, felt good from the back, was able to hit some very good depth, which was the thing that I really enjoyed about this. When you hit it in the center of the strings and it was solid, you got some nice pop, some nice depth to put your opponent under pressure. So that was something I really enjoyed. The same goes for the backhand. At times though, on the backhand, it felt a little bit unstable. So that's why I ultimately added a little bit of weight here at 10 and 2, because that kind of helped with a little bit of the stability. The backhand was still pretty solid. I felt like I didn't have as good as a feeling on my backhand as I did my forehand. And the same would go for the slice. I had to get used to that feeling. Like, I feel like when I play with Head and Wilson rackets, there's a feeling there of like knifing it and it feels like butter smooth, where I feel like Yonex frames, it's a different feeling and I don't think I like it. So I would have to probably knock it on the slice. I didn't feel like I was connected there as much. And I was kind of sad about that because it's a 95 square inch racket. I was kind of thinking it was going to have those 95 square inch vibes of the slice, but I didn't really get that. But that's okay. It wasn't terrible by any means. But it was just okay. A couple little knocks on the backhand and the slice. On the volleys, very good. I mean, it's nothing super special. Once again, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more spice on the volleys since it was a 95 square inch. I have solid volleys, so normally I feel like rackets that are 95 square inch or closed, dense patterns make the volleys feel nice and solid. But I mean, this one was just okay, felt good. No really super bad complaints or anything. On the overhead, very good, no complaints, solid, didn't feel like I could miss actually. One of the better rackets I've played with overheads. And then back to the baseline where we're gonna hit some returns and some serves. So we start with some serves. You can get some serious pop with this racket on the serve. Like, you can flatten out your flat serve. Like, that's something that I was very surprised about. Like, this is a 95 square inch. And I was able to hit this just as hard, if not harder, than with my Extreme Tour on the flat serve. Was it going in all the time? No, and that's where we had some issues. But the pop you can get with this was very surprising. So once again, if you can kind of control this racket, it's a good one. Like, you're gonna get some dubs with this racket. So Talking about serve though, I was able to get a lot of pop. I did struggle to find my spots on the flat serve. Kick serve was pretty good. Slice serve was good. But yeah, I just felt like sometimes I had a hard time. It's not like my first serve percentage was down or anything, or I felt like I couldn't make it. But it just felt that it was almost like too much sometimes. And I was like, wow, like I couldn't handle it. It was almost like I was playing with like a pure arrow for a second that had a 95 square inch head. So that's an interesting takeaway. Like this racket kind of does play like it has pure arrow aspects of it, but a 95 square inch. And I know people might not like that I say that, but I just said it, so too bad. On returns got to be on for me to switch to a racket. So it was okay, especially when I would go for the chip. I felt like it just didn't feel, I didn't have full confidence in my chip return. It just felt like a little flippy floppy, but that's why I added the weight, and the weight did help a tiny bit, but nothing crazy. But yeah, overall, very surprised. Like this racket has a lot of good things going for it. And if you're a current Yonex user and you like the feeling of this racket, this is gonna be a major go. I just feel like for me, there's a couple things on the serve and the return which are vital for my game, the first touches, that I felt like I couldn't really, it wouldn't work out for me. But this is a great racket. Like there's some really good aspects to this that people are really gonna like. And I'm really happy I was able to get my hands on this, because I know when people rave about this racket, if they do, I will understand why, because it does have some really good aspects to it. If you're somebody that hits really flat, you're gonna really like this, because it's gonna give you a little bit of spin actually, which is cool. Because sometimes you have rackets that you hit flat with and it doesn't give you the extra little bite, but this racket will. So very interesting play test. I'm happy I was able to get my hands on it. Let me know if you have any questions about this racket. Happy to answer it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Vcore 95. One more thing, Selinko Confidential in here, 5250. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Insane. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. Today we have the Wilson Shift. Look at this racket. Now, doesn't this look cool? This is the Wilson Shift, folks. For you that do not know, this is a prototype racket from Wilson, and they're gathering some feedback on it. It's Wilson Labs. I don't know if you can kind of see in here. The specs on this are 300 grams, 99 square inch, and they really didn't give the other specs of it. So I don't really know what's going on here. I'm sure I could go on Tennis Warehouse and kind of find that stuff, but I don't know them off the top of my head because they're kind of secret. So this is what we're talking about today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very exciting review. You guys can see the smile on my face. This racket is incredible. It's insane. Like, I'm kind of speechless. This racket I might switch to. I'm just gonna say it out there for you guys. And this one, this is a good racket. I'll just stop saying it's a good racket and I'll actually explain why I think it's a good racket. It's not for everyone, but it definitely is fitting my game right now. So, first couple things. Strung up with Selinko Confidential at my tension, 54, 52. I also demoed it with Luxilon Alu Power, Big Banger, 16L, and that played very nice as well. So yeah, this racket is kind of in my wheelhouse because it is a 99 square inch. I can't remember, I may have said 98 earlier. This is a 99 square inch racket. And it's light, so I had to customize it. So of course, I demoed it stock first, but felt it could use some weight. It does need some weight, so we have some weight here at 3 and 9. Pretty good little chunk, I would say. We're about 9 centimeters here, 9 centimeters here, 9 and 9. So, and then also I evened it out here in the grip. So it's probably, I can't weigh it, you guys. That's the one thing I'm sorry about. I can't weigh it. I don't have a scale, so can't help you out in that department. I got a dampener on here as well. Wilson Pro Overgrip. I'm giving you guys all the specs because this racket plays very good. Why do I like this racket? From forehands in the back, I can do whatever I want with this racket on the forehand and on all the ground strokes. I can hit spin, I can hit flat, and it just goes. It just goes where I want. It's ridiculous. I can hit height, like very high over the net. The launch angle is bizarre because it's allowing me, and this is something we talk about in a lot of different rackets, pure arrows, pure drives, Wilson Burns, E-zones, Vcores, they have high launch angles. I tend to gravitate towards medium to high launch angles because I like to play with spins sometimes, but I also like to flatten it out. But I don't love rackets that are very low launch angles, although they're fun to play with. So here we're talking about Prestiges and Pro Tour 2.0s and Wilson Blade tight patterns and stuff like that. I would like to be able to play with those rackets, but sometimes they don't work for me. But this racket's launch angle is strange because it's like you can do whatever you want with it. And that's the scary part because it's so good. Like I can hit flat with it and make the launch angle low. And then I can hit really heavy spin and it's all of a sudden high. So it does it all. And I've never played with a racket that has allowed me to do that. So I know they have some interesting technology going on. Something about the flex in the racket. It's able to flex this way and it's also able to flex this way. I don't know any of the special names or technology behind it. I just know that it does that. And normally tennis rackets only flex one way, and I forget what way that is. So maybe you guys can tell me in the comments. But I know that that is something that it is one of a kind of, and I think that might must have something to do with the launch angle because it's ridiculous, it's crazy. So anyway, forehands, I felt like I could do anything with it. I could just rip it. So A+ on the forehands, I don't even know what to say. Backhands, really solid, especially once you add the lead. I was just cracking it. Like, I'm really speechless, guys. Like, this racket is something else, especially if you're in the wheelhouse for this kind of a racket. But once again, I can hit topspin, I can hit the slice, I can hit flat through the court like I like to on my backhand, and it worked out. And all these things have easy depth. This racket gave me easy access to depth, which is something I'm searching for right now. Sometimes I feel like when I'm playing, my balls land a little bit short, and this made my life extremely easy, and I was still swinging out. And even when I wasn't swinging out, they were still landing deep, which is so weird, because normally when you're not swinging out, the ball lands short. So this racket is kind of a hack for me right now, and I'm here for it. So anyway, love the access to depth. That's a big plus for me. If we come up to the net, this is the best racket I've ever had up at the net. No joke, A++++++. It's so solid. I can just, it's like a magic wand. Like, I'm up there and it's like, bah, bah, bah. It's so solid on the drop volleys. When I want to punch a volley cross or right at the guy, it's there. It's crazy. Like, whew, I gotta take a breather here because I'm so passionate about this racket. So anyway, volleys, overheads, extremely solid, A+. Now this is where I get even more excited because we're talking about the serve with this racket. On the serve, I probably hit the hardest flat serve ever. It would have had to have been like 130 or something. I was cracking it, and it was like in. Like sometimes you're hitting hard with some rackets, but it's landing out. They weren't landing out. They were in, and they were hard and fast, and they were giving me free points. And I'm here for that. Also, the access to spin on this racket is the best on serve out there right now, in my opinion. The kick serves I was able to hit, oh, so good. Just incredible. The only knock I would maybe give it is on return, just a tiny bit. And overall, it was solid. Like it was above average even. So I would give it like an A on returns. But I mean, if you're getting an A on returns and that's the worst part of the racket, that's pretty good. And then I want to shout out this racket for one thing, and that is the one-handed backhand. If you have a one-handed backhand, folks, buy this racket right now. This racket is insane for one-handed backhands. I was like gonna switch to a one-handed backhand when I was demoing this racket. I was like smacking it. It was so good. Like this racket, I think I might switch to it. I'll keep you guys updated, but this could be a very, very dangerous weapon for so many people. The access to depth, the launch angle creativity, we'll call it, and the feel in the touch, it is, and the spin potential when you want it, it's nuts. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wilson Shift, and it looks pretty cool too. It's unique. Once again, Selinko Confidential 5452 also demoed it with Lux ALU. We got the dampener on here. We got lead at 3 and 9, countered in the grip, Wilson Pro Overgrip. This is quite the racket. And I don't even know what to say anymore because it's so good. I'll keep you guys updated. I might switch to this because it's so good. So thank you for watching, and definitely get your hands on a Wilson Shift because your mind will be blown. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Hey guys, update on the Shift. It's been about a week and a half since I had played with it, and I did play with it a little bit more, and sadly, it did hurt my arm. I don't know what happened. It really sucks because that racket was a beauty. I'm gonna try and tinker with it maybe in a few weeks again after we play some matches, but really upsetting to be honest that it hurt my arm. There was really nothing I could really do about it. I tried it with 2 different strings, but maybe we can try and figure something out because that racket was insane. Today we have another racket review, and that is the Selinko Whiteout 18x20 Extended. Now there's a lot to unpack about this video. This did make the finals of my racket face-off series that just ended recently, where the Radical took this racket out in the finals. Now this racket was very close to winning, but there was just a couple things that just made me not quite sold, and maybe didn't was the factors basically of why I didn't switch to this racket. But it's still an excellent racket and will work for many players. So before I get into this too, one other thing, I've seen, I see you trolls in the comments saying, this racket not good, it's an ad and stuff. This racket is very good. I always give honest reviews. You guys should know that. And I will tell you guys if a racket is good or if it is bad. The Head Gravity Pro, the old one, the new one even that I had in the racket series, I did not really like it. And I told you guys that. But this racket I really enjoy. And I had a lot of fun playing with this racket. So I strung it up with Head Hawk 17 gauge. It's an 1820 string bed, so I thought the 17 gauge would work out a little bit better. I do like this string in this. It's a good combo. What made this racket get to the finals? Well, I will tell you, it was the easy access to depth. So a lot of times, some rackets, it feels like you kind of gotta muscle the ball just to get it deep. You got to swing so hard. This one was effortless. I really enjoyed playing with this one because I could swing 50% and I could get good depth, and then I would swing 100% and I wouldn't spray it. So that's a big problem sometimes with power frames, or even some frames in between power frames and control frames. You go to swing 100% and it just goes off the back tarping. You can have, great technique and it just might suck, and it's tough to get a lot of depth with some rackets, and this racket was really excellent with the depth and it really impressed me. So this is one thing throughout all my shots, I was able to get some nice depth with this racket and it was controllable. So on the forehand, like I mentioned, great depth obviously, but I was able to hit nice topspin for an extended racket. I didn't really know what to think about extended going into it. I don't play with extended rackets. I have not really demoed a ton of them either. So yeah, I really had no problems hitting topspin. Could really hit it through the court too with depth. That's why this racket did make the finals. It really did a much better job than some other rackets I've played with recently. So I really enjoyed it with that. I really thought it turned my forehand into more of a weapon, which I thought was kind of cool. I really think it even moved through the court, maybe even more so than my new racket of choice, the Radical Pro. But there were some other things that, came into play that maybe not switch to this racket, which I'll talk about later. But it was really coming through the court nice on the forehand side. So if you have a big forehand, or maybe you don't have a big forehand, but you want to make it bigger, this is a great racket. The 1820 string bed didn't seem to let it down or anything. Sometimes with tighter string patterns, it's tough to get, a higher launch angle or generate a lot of spin or make your ball move through the court. This I didn't have any issues with at all. So forehand, double, triple check mark, we'll say. Backhands, really good once again. The only thing is it felt a little odd maneuvering, once in a while. I think that's where that extra ½ inch came into play, just kind of going back and forth like that. It felt just not bad, maybe a little strange, you could say, there once in a while. However, I did really enjoy enjoy being able to put two hands on the racket and my other hand not coming up here. I felt like that Selinko Whiteout 1619 regular did have that issue where the grip felt a little bit small, but I love the grip on this one, and that was nice to have on the backhand. Was able to hit good spin, hit my nice flat backhand like I do as well with good depth. And yeah, I mean, just other than maneuvering, it wasn't anything really bad or anything. The 40T carbon in the foam filled shined once again on the slice and all shots really. This racket is super stable, especially for an extended racket. I think, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, extended rackets, the weight can be a little wonky in them sometimes because they have to fill an extra ½ inch, like a weight that's similar to regular frames. So the weight can be a little odd sometimes. I thought it was fine. No issues at all, and it was super stable. So yeah, awesome. So backhand, slice backhands, excellent. This racket really shines on one-handed backhands too. Excellent. It reminded me of another frame that I loved it one-handed backhands with, which we even did like a short on because I was cracking them so good that day, and that's the Wilson Shift. Really, there's a lot of aspects from the Wilson Shift that come into play with this racket. I think they play really similar, but I like the Whiteout actually more. I felt that the Wilson Shift sometimes, well, you guys know, did hurt my arm, but also, even though it was going through the court and had great depth like this one, I felt like it was going out there once in a while. So this one I was able to kind of dial it in more with the 1820 string bed. But yeah, groundies, great, super solid frame from there. Volleys, crisp as well. I felt like I was able to really punch volleys well with this racket. So, I mean, there's not really anything to dock thus far other than really maybe the maneuverability issue. Overhead's great. When you go back to serve, if you can really dial this in on your serve, you can hit some bombs. that extra ½ inch can really make a difference, I think, and it did for me. Was able to hit my spots, slice, kicks, flats, and if you're able to get like a nice first ball after your serve, like a good serve +1, it's short, you can just smack it, and it just feels so good coming off the racket, the 1-2 punches with this. If you're a defender, I don't know if this is the racket for you. It might be a little tough to wield around there behind the baseline if you're a big clay court grinder. I don't think this would be maybe the racket for you. But on returns, it felt pretty solid. Like I said, maybe a little bit difficult to get quickly. That was a little bit something to get used to, just the maneuverability on the forehand, backhand returns. But nothing terrible. So you guys must be thinking, like, why didn't I switch this? Like, it sounds great, Cade. Like, you can do anything you want. Just the maneuverability is lacking maybe a tiny bit. Like, there's no perfect racket. But there is a but, and that is it does have one more similarity to the Wilson Shift. And if you guys saw that video, I'll let you think about it for a second. It is that it hurt my arm. So I don't really know why. I have a good guess at why this racket hurt my arm. It's not the string, it's not the tension. I've used the string and tension before. It's not the 1820 bed. It's that it's extended, and sometimes extended frames can cause a little bit of arm pain, and that's what happened here with me. I was actually getting ready to buy this racket, guys, believe it or not. I play tested this one even before I did the racket series, the face-off, and it just bothered my arm near the end of my play test with it, and it kind of bothered me a little bit in the face-off series as well. So I would take the arm pain over even the rackets that it beat out. I would rather have arm pain and play with this racket than have some of those other rackets that it did beat out. But this can't be a winner because it did hurt my arm, and I'm not sure what it is. Maybe there's some other aspects. Like I said, I think it is that extra ½ inch, but if you're somebody that's going for an extended frame, check this one out. If you're somebody that loves extended frames, check this one out. If you're somebody that, used Angel rackets, this is a great alternative. Yeah, it's actually a super excellent frame. It really plays well. It just let me down on the arm. That's it, guys. It's really it. I know people are going to come into the comments and say, try with a different string, do this, do that. I just don't really want to do that. I know what strings I really like, and I don't really want to settle for a softer poly or a hybrid or anything like that. I want to play with strings I like in a racket that I like, and I like this string in the racket. It wasn't a great combo for my arm, at least, but it played great. So let me know what you guys think about this racket. Thanks again to Selinko. This one is by far my favorite compared to the regular 1619 version. And yeah, great racket. Just couldn't quite get the deal done with the face-off series. So that's going to be it. This is the Selinko Whiteout 1820 Extended. All right, everyone, there you have it. You just saw my 5 favorite rackets. Of course, my #1 is the Head Radical, but for this video, it did come down to the Whiteout being in that #1 spot and the Shift being in that #2 spot. And if I didn't get arm pain from those rackets, I probably would have switched to one of those because I really did like them both. I think if I didn't have the elbow pain and my arm pain here, I think I could have maybe really have found a sweet spot there with some lead and stuff. Maybe even if could try some different string in there, but I tried some different stuff with both of them and ultimately just could not quite get the arm pain to go away. So you guys saw it. What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments, and let me know too what your favorite demos are of the year. There's so many rackets out there, and I'm also very excited to see what 2024 brings. We haven't done a ton of racket reviews recently, but that's because there hasn't really been that many rackets that have come out. We've pretty much kind of nailed them all down in the last few months. So let me know what you think. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. 123. Okay.